coming.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, but let me first of all say that this is the first of a series of interviews with Friday Conversations. We'll be doing with persons of political significance.
Of interest. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
But before we go there, I have to say a few words about Friday Conversations.
Yeah.
We are a non-partisan group to discuss issues of public concern, right? And some of our members are members of political parties, but they do not represent the political party's point of view,
right? Okay.
Because we are completely independent group, dedicated to first of all self-education,
right,
and then educating the general public about issues that are of importance,
right,
to Singapore, right? Okay. So that's the thing. So you are the first in a series which we will be having, interviewing persons of political significance, right? So that the general public will know who you are as a person.
Okay.
Right. So we will not be discussing too much about your political views.
Okay.
But what the general public will want to know is, how did you come to be what you are? Right.
Okay.
Okay. Now let me start by asking. Okay. You are going to stand as an independent citizen, right? You don't belong to any political party.
No, whatever.
Yeah, so that's the first question I'm going to ask you. Why do you not belong to any political party? Why are you an independent person?
Okay, but first of all, let me address everybody. Welcome. The sound might not be good. If the sound is not good, what I will do is I'll repost it, because there's a professional camera here with microphones, so not to worry. So if you don't get the sound, I'm sorry. I'll repost it maybe tomorrow. Okay, coming back to the question is, honestly, I didn't plan all this, and I just felt while I was, just walking through blindly in this political arena, it was like, walking into a forest. A lot of things were new for me. I was naive, I'll be honest with you. I'm still naive and still learning. It's a learning process. Every tree or plant or flower I look at, it's like a new discovery. But what I found out, what was consistent, was the way the political scene had been laid out for people. And this was the same system that we had to follow, or have been following, without anybody challenging this system for a very long time.
Yeah. And that is something that you feel constraining you, right?
I think it's constraining all
of us. So that is why I want to begin to ask you, how do you have that sense in you, What was your childhood like?
Okay, so
you come from a
traditional Hindu family.
Yeah, but you are a Muslim as well.
Right now, I converted about 10 years ago. I wouldn't say right now, 10 years ago.
So, what was your family life like? Were you the eldest son?
No. I'm the youngest baby.
You're the youngest one. Out of how many?
Out of 4. My sister passed away when we were young. And so I've got an elder brother and a sister who are 9 years and 10 years older than me.
Yeah.
8 and 9 years older than me. So I was a baby for everybody, my parents as well as my siblings, because I'm much younger.
Yeah.
I grew up in a very strict, traditional Hindu household.
Yes.
Father goes to work, mom stays home, take care of the family, and my mom was a social worker as well.
Oh, I see.
She has done more than 500 weddings free of charge. She, back then there was no social media, so she used to matchmake people.
Oh,
and so she was doing this for free. So all she will ask for is buy me a sari, and so she found that was enough for her.
And what did your father do?
Father was, he had menial odd jobs. He used to work for PWD back then, the Public Works Department, right?
Yeah.
So he was just a normal foreman, and then he got a job at the shipyard. Hitachi's Ocean Shipyard.
Oh.
And then so he was like, he went in as a worker, was a supervisor all his life.
Yeah.
And then he did a bit of plumbing during his free time.
So let me ask you two very basic questions.
Yes.
I just want one simple answer.
Okay.
What did you learn from your father? One simple answer. And what did you learn from your mother?
how to take care of a family no matter what happens, and how to keep, for my mother, how to keep the family together with as minimal as you have and still have enough to save money and do things which are beyond her level, I would say.
Yeah.
And trying to do something which is beyond her level.
Okay. So what is your earliest and most important childhood memory?
Oh man, so many. So I just got to pick one.
One.
One of my most. I used to have this Red Indians and Cowboys toys.
Yeah.
And I loved them. There was like a bunch of toys. It was small stuff.
Yeah.
I used to play with them. And then later on, when I grew older, I found out my sister and brother had saved the money that was given to them for school to makan 5 cents and 10 cents.
Yeah.
They used the money to buy that as a birthday gift for me. So that is something I still cherish now. I grew up in a very simple household.
Yeah.
You know,
what kind of house was it?
So we were in a Chinese kampong in Coronation Road. And then we moved to
What kind of house? What kind of house was
Atap house. Atap house, wooden Atap house.
In those days,
And we had to do our own roof. And then once my father was repairing the roof, and I was a young boy, 3 years old. I had opened the door and the wall in between the roof and the house was
You mean the ceiling?
Yeah, the cardboard ceiling. Fell on my sister's head and seems to have stitches. And then we got a house in Taman Jurong HDB.
Yeah.
So very simple, humble beginnings.
Were you a run around kind of local hooligan?
At what age?
I don't know.
No, so I was heavily involved in sports because my father was a football player. And my brother was overall, he did every sport.
Yeah.
My sister was also a classical dancer. So I was heavily in sports. So it kept me out of trouble.
Yeah.
Most of the time.
What school were you at?
So I was in Jurong. I went to Christchurch Kindergarten. Went to Jurong Town Primary School, and then New Town Secondary School, and then I went to Jurong Sec for my A-levels.
Yeah. Oh, you said for A-level.
Yes.
Now, this is very important.
Didn't sit. I dropped out 6 months before the exam as a challenge to my parents.
Why did you challenge
Because
your
I
parents?
was a football player, and so I was actually selected to play Asian under 20 for Asian Games. And so my parents came in and said, no, A-levels this year, no football for you. So I was hard, but because I was really doing well in school, I was doing well in school, and I was doing good in sports, and I had that balance. So once they took that part away, right, I felt that I can't take this, and I wanted to show defiance. I dropped out.
So this is a very important part of your character, right?
Yes.
The defiance.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
Now that's something which we must discuss, right?
Yes.
I think the general public want to know, right? Your defiance comes across very interestingly because you also have a sense of humor,
right?
And you say things very, very clearly, right?
Okay.
Right? How did you develop that language?
Okay, so I used to be a life skill trainer from sports. I used to be a sports coach. So I was always interacting with people. And then there was adults. But then when I went to do in schools, right, they used to give me slides. And I realized they were getting bored. And I knew me. And when I was in school, I don't want to see slides. And I used to remember the teachers that I could remember and the lessons I would learn. They were all very experiential and no slides.
This is what, the New Towns?
So it was Newtown and Jurong Town Primary. I had some teachers actually. In fact, one of my teachers went on to contest in politics. I will just tell you, with SDP. He passed on during COVID. His name is Viraya. And so these were the kind of teachers who didn't do the normal kind of classes. So I learned that from them. And I realized when I teach, so I get this from teaching students, whether primary school or secondary or college or tertiary level. If there's a bit of humor, which is in me, I joke around all the time. So I put my humor and my experience and take the lesson and put that in. Is something that the students learn and they remember.
So what when you say you were teaching, what were you doing? What kind of teaching work?
Sports. I just talk about sports. I thought it differently. I realized rather than just doing physical education in schools, teaching games and all, They needed to understand the biomechanics of how because I thought as a sportsman, if I knew how my body works, I can prevent injuries, I can develop myself better. So I thought in their way for them to learn something.
How did to be a teacher, you must be approved by the Ministry of Education, right?
So what happened was,
how did you get into
no, because they had a slot where a lot of life skill trainers. So I went in as a life skill trainer, teaching public speaking, teaching about leadership and all that. And then they open up an avenue because they already had sports coaches going in. Yeah. So they realized that why don't we bring in outside contractors to teach sports? So that's when I had to show that I've been experienced in this, and I had courses that I've done in sports with the Sports Council. Yeah. So you apply to MOE, and then
MOE agreed.
MOE, as long as you are qualified and you have been teaching for a long time, because I've already been in the fitness line since I was 21, 22 after my national service. So I started teaching when I was about 30. So I already was in the industry. So for them to give me an okay to approve my license was so difficult.
Okay, very quickly. Yes. What did you do in national service?
I was king.
What is that?
That means I don't work. I was in the combat. No, actually what happened was, so because of football, I had injured my knee. And so I couldn't go PES A. So I was in PES C, but I was super fit. But because I had a knee injury, my running wasn't so good. And so they made me into a clerk. And the funny part is, the officer that was taking me for SPMP on my first day, he came back and he came and asked me, "Is your brother named Inchet Sundram?" I said yes. He said, "You died because of him. I never went back for weeks and weeks. I cannot tekan and I had to stay back for duty." My brother was a well-known CSM.
What is that?
Company Sergeant Major, and then he became an RSM at Officer Cadet School. He is really on. He was an airborne ranger. So because he was in sports, right? So a lot of people didn't like him because he was deaf on the ball, and I am on the other side of the spectrum where I say, relax, let's take it easy. So that was my army life. I was a clerk in a reservist armor training center, and so that's how I finished my life.
Okay, so now a lot of people will want to know, how do you make a living?
So
what was your how
fitness? I was in the fitness line.
I mean, really, what kind of income would that be able to support?
Not much, but I was happy training people. I'll be honest with you, fitness line is one of the worst lines to be in for myself, because I worked for a fitness club back then, and then we didn't have much personal training. So we got just basic pay every month. My first basic pay, I still remember, was $850. And my take home was about 600. But I was thinking like 12, 14 hours because I love the job and I like teaching people. And when you teach something to somebody, you get a bit of satisfaction. So the training and the teaching instinct was back then already.
So do you think this your experience and your love of interacting with people, right, is a preparation for your current role in politics, maybe?
I usually could connect well with people, with students or people I've worked with. I never had issues. I always was a person who can neutralize any situation, because I always have a sense of humor. So even when they're doing if things are getting really rough and all, I would kind of tone it down with a bit of sense of humor. So I've always had that. And so even when I started going on social media, it was not politics. I was talking about fitness and nutrition. And because
when did you start that?
So fitness and nutrition was in 2016. 2015, sorry, 2015, I started talking about fitness and nutrition, and I used to volunteer in senior homes. So I saw there was clearly something lacking in the senior fitness scene. And for people who have not exercised for a long time, right, to get basic ideas. And for Singaporeans, you can't really follow YouTube because they will be eating different kind of food. For us, we are hawker center people, right?
Yeah.
Hawker center people. How do you find healthy food in a hawker center? So when I created that, I had a bit of following and people connected. A lot of people came in.
Yeah.
And then when I switched to talking about current affairs, I realized people had gone through the same thing I've gone through, which I wasn't that sure of, and I could connect. So basically, that's it.
Why did you go into current affairs?
So I went through a bit of a rough patch from 2010 to even now to a large extent. I went through quite a bad fallout with my ex-wife, and so what happened was we went through a bad divorce, and I had a child and all that. So then I realized that when I went through the system to get support, to keep the house, going through the court system and going through, trying to keep the house which was my parents' house that I bought over, I found that there was a lot of cracks in the structure and the framework that was set in place. And I'm a normal, hardworking guy, right? And so I kept falling through the cracks. I kept realizing that a lot of things that were done to me on a personal note could have been done better, and when I look back and say, was that fair? I always say it could be done better. And then there was once Yaqub Ibrahim, I was staying at St. George Road. So we had actually, me and my ex-wife just took over my parents' house because they couldn't afford it.
In where? St. George's Road?
Yeah, in St. George Road, right. Yeah. So we took over. My parents we were living there for a long time. And then me and my wife took over the place. And then when we went through a divorce, I only had about $100,000 to pay up. And we have been making payment through the years
to buy that house.
To buy the house over. It's a 4 rooms, a huge flat. And so I had to give out the profits to my wife.
Yeah.
I still had enough of my CPF.
Yeah.
And I said, I want to buy over. And so by that time, my father had passed on. So it was only me and my mom. And it was a 4-room flat. And HDB told me, you can't. So I said, why? I can pay for it.
Oh, it's an HDB flat.
Yes, an HDB flat. And then they said, you can't. I said, why? Because it's only you and your mom. You are not allowed to have such a big house. This was in 2011. This is what they told me. So I said, but that's not fair. We've been living here all this while. So do you take away a house of people who, like 5 people say 10, 3 passed on, you take the house? Say no. In your situation, because you have to, because of divorce, you have to sell the flat and you gave your share. So you have to reapply to get this house again.
Oh,
so
you were planning to buy back the share that you had given away.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they didn't allow that. And it was sold to an Indonesian couple. And here I am, 3rd generation Singaporean. My father had worked was the backbone of the pioneer generation. Yeah. And then, and my grandfather was a union leader back then, helping the Singaporeans, Indians who came from India, for Traction Company. And so I'm 3rd generation, normal working guy. Why can't I get what we paid for? They took it away. And then they say, you only qualify for a studio apartment. I said, I'm a grown man and I have a mother who's old enough. She would want her privacy as well. Yeah. And what if I get married again? I said, no, for now you can only get a studio apartment.
Because that's the rules, right?
Back then, right?
Yes.
And so when I went through all this, and then when we went to go for rental, they say your pay do not qualify for rental, so you got to take rental from outside the open market, which is expensive.
Yeah.
And so you keep falling through the crack. And so that's what kind of started noticing something is not right, man. And somebody should speak up. And so I started speaking up. That's it.
That sounds like a very common experience
with
right?
everybody now.
When we have to deal with the bureaucracy, right? Who are, well, some people call it a rule by rules
Okay.
Not a rule of law, but a rule by rules.
Yes.
Yes. So this is that explains a lot.
Yes, a lot.
Yeah. But many people who have gone through this kind of experience become bitter. Are you bitter?
At first I'll be honest with you, when I started all this. And that's why if you see my earlier videos, it was just my emotions coming up. I didn't plan it. I never planned any of the videos I posted up. I see something or think about something. I could be sitting down drinking coffee. And then there was once I was sitting down drinking coffee and I saw this very old lady pushing a cardboard. I'm not making this story up. And she was pushing a cardboard. And she just stood for a while and she took out a very old plastic bag, rubber band, and she drank water from water bottle and she put it up. And I was thinking, what if that was my mother? But because it is somebody's mother. And why does she have to do it? It's not that she's enjoying it under the hot blazing sun, she's pushing the cardboard because she has no choice. For her next meal, she has to do that.
That's right.
So when you see all this, I realize something is really wrong. We are supposed to be the richest, wealthiest, well-to-do, most recognized place in the whole world. And we were supposed to have a vibrant economy. And then when you look at this, it's not the postcards you see anymore. Postcards with Marina Bay Sand and the flyers and the MRTs and ladies and with the stilettos and men with briefcases walking around dealing in business in streets. This is the real Singapore. And I felt that this is something, somebody's got to do something about it. And I just want to voice out my emotions towards this, express my feelings towards this. That's it.
Well, that's I think that your bitterness then somehow later transform into humor.
Yeah, so you sometimes have to laugh at yourself, right? No point getting upset with it all the while. So after I realized that I'm not the only one going through all this, more people started giving me feedback. So I felt that we were like a bunch of fools who were taken for a ride. And I found it so funny that nobody had actually hit the nail on the head, So even now, when I look at certain issues, I find it funny, man, So, so what do? We have to laugh it off, right?
So, tell us about your POFMA experience. What happened?
So the POFMA,
first of all, why were you POFMA?
So the first one was when I asked the series. See how my mind works is. So when I was going through doing posts and all, I remember the times when we used to sit down in the coffee shop and talk about normal things. Elections, what happened with this candidate and PAP. And so we always sit down, generally, and we'll sit down and talk about how the elections are done. And then we always talk about, because we didn't know, right? Why is there a serial number? And the serial number is counted, check with your IC, and they give you the card with the serial number. So my question was, people say that the serial number can be used to trace how your vote went. Is this true? That's it. Boom, POFMA. Because they said I put up
it was purely a question, but not a statement, right?
So they take it as I'm insinuating something.
Okay.
And because the exact lines was, we grow up talking about why is there a serial number on the polling cards, and that
you posted this on
it's a video.
Okay.
So I got POFMA.
So what happened when you went for the interview?
So I got 3 POFMAs, 4 videos. The last video was actually the last one was funny because they POFMA me for accrued interest for HDB. And then I said, if I was wrong in that, why didn't they POFMA me for these two videos that I say that, I don't know whether I can repeat that, but I said, if HDB is not making money, SLA is not making money, then who's making the money? Because Singapore's price of flats is world-class standards. So who's making the money? So this was it. I said, why didn't they POFMA me on that? 2 days later, they POFMA me on that. It was hilarious. And so
you invited it.
Yeah. I think I was throwing a challenge, and they say, okay, now you see who's the boss, right? So I did go to the POFMA office, and
where is the POFMA office?
POFMA office is in Pasir Panjang.
Where is that?
Maple Tree.
It's the office
It's a
complex.
huge complex. So I think a lot of government offices are there. Nice office though. Well carpeted and all.
I've been there. It's a very modern.
Yes. Very high tech, right?
Very high tech.
So and the offices were very nice, very cordial, very courteous.
Yeah.
And so but the questions, I don't know whether I can say it. It was kind of like they were not specific to the issue. So this is what kind of
they're trying to get to know you.
Maybe they were doing a psychological evaluation, and me being an idiot, I didn't realize that. And I'm saying, ask me the question. Ask me the question. Ask me the question. So they say, just answer what we ask you. So I think it was more of a psychological evaluation. And I found it, because I'm a straight shooter.
But did you have to make any corrections later?
Oh, yeah. So the moment you get your POFMA, so I got POFMA for the POFMA corrections, because I didn't know how to paste it up on time. Because first time, so you got to pay, first time, so you got to take out the portion that they sent.
You have to educate us about what
So
the POFMA procedure.
I'm not the Sifu, because the Sifu is in UK, Kenneth. You got 8 POFMA, so I'm just a baby 3 years old.
You got 4, right? You got 4.
I got 3.
Okay.
So the 2 days.
So you're more experienced than both of us.
So the last one was a prata plaster, because 2 in 1 they POFMA me, so 3. So what happened was, when you get your POFMA, right, you are given about 6 to 8 hours. You have to post it up. Post up the correction notice. So you have your video. They do not ask you to remove the video. They say, we have no right to ask you to remove the video. But you have to put a correction notice and pin that notice. So that's the first thing anybody would see if they come into your Facebook or mine was TikTok, on my TikTok page. So it will be pinned right at the top left-hand corner. So that's the first thing they see.
What did it say?
So it's just correction notice for this post that I posted up, and he was spreading falsehood, and he said this, and then said this is not true and blah blah blah.
So those wording was your wording or their wording?
Yes, they have pasted up. So that's why I didn't know how to cut and paste and all that. So I had a bit of problem. So they kind of took that into consideration and say, that can be punishable because you didn't adhere on time. And so that's how you do a POFMA correction notice. So you have to post it up. If you don't post it up, that's showing defiance. And
they use the word.
No, they didn't say it, but I feel they can hold you to court and charge you for it, for failing to adhere to the POFMA notice. And so you put up a correction notice, and it's got to be left there for close to several weeks. See, this is the part that nobody discussed. Maybe everybody is a bit egoistic and very gung-ho, and people got POFMA say, they have a different personality. But what it does, it actually puts the person under POFMA under tremendous public pressure. And the mental audit you have to go through, because it was new for me. Even coming into the space of the political arena was new, right? So this was another shocker for me. So when I posted up, it's open season for all those keyboard warriors. And then they will come in and they're very harsh on you. So the government wants you to post it up. But you see, the kind of remarks and comments I was getting was atrocious. They were talking about my wife, they were talking about my child, they were talking about my family. They were saying things like, who are these people? Oh, they are keyboard warriors. You don't know who they are, but they come in groups and all, they start slamming you. And they say, you got POFMA, you go to prison, don't worry, we'll get somebody to take care of your wife. They talk things like that. So my character is, once I got my POFMA, I was like, wait, what's this, man? You kind of backpedaled a bit because you're not used to it. And then you wake up one of the, after 2 days and say, hey, listen, I had a chat with myself. Listen, I got this because I was doing something I believed in. And so I have to make sure I'm ready for this. I mean, Nelson Mandela was in prison for 20 odd years. And I'm nothing compared to those people who spoke out, like J.B. Jeyaretnam or Chauncey Kong. And they had exactly what is a POFMA notice for me. And I compared myself after my divorce. I lost my children, my sons. I couldn't see them. And
so
so when she remarried, I lost.
So don't you have visiting rights?
Yeah, but it can be easily be manipulated. Okay. Very easily be manipulated. So, and then I was under severe depression. I was suicidal. I was very, very close to my sons, and so especially my eldest boy. So I was contemplating suicide. But then that's why when I found God again, and so I compare the situation I had right now to back then. I didn't go to work, no money. I was staying in a friend's house.
This was over 10 years ago.
Yeah, so I used to walk from Tampines, staying in a friend's house, Constraining, where just to see my boy. And they wouldn't let me see my boy. I would sit under the sun for 2 hours outside the house and walk back again. So I compare myself to what I'm going through now. It's nothing, man. Yeah. So it's a POFMA. But God has still given me good friends. I have a family. And so I got this for fighting for something I believe in. So it didn't affect me after that.
So it is not a driving force for you to go into politics.
No, POFMA was not.
No.
But the continuous ignorance of the policies that were made out. I wouldn't even want to use the word government. I'm not against the government. I'm against some of the policies that has been put out that does not meet the needs of the man on the street, and they keep falling through the cracks.
Okay, so this is the point of our discussion where I think the general public will want to know, if you get elected, what are you going to do?
I'm going to elect. I've been doing this.
Do you have a plan? What's your plan?
So for the last 2 years, I've been looking at the policies, trying to break it down and let people understand what it is, because the jargons that they use is not easy for the normal man on the street to understand. So that's what I've been doing. Take it down. If they discuss something in Parliament, break it down for people to understand. And I tell people what can be done to change it or improve it. I'll do the same thing. So I'm sure they're going to ask me a question of how I'm going to run town council. No experience before.
Yeah.
Very simple. Not every GRC or SMC is run by the ministers directly. They employ management companies.
Yeah.
I will do two things. I will go in. If I win, I always say, inshallah, by the grace of God, if I win. If it's an SMC, I'm going to go to that SMC. I'm going to re-offer the staff who are already there. You guys know the crowd. You know the landscape. Help me to help the people. Carry on working here. Easy. We are not. You don't have to be loyal to anybody. Be loyal to the citizens you're working for.
Yeah.
If they do not want to or wish to, they want to go out. I'll employ a company which is run town council before. And you must understand, I also have new friends now who are more than happy to help out, who are currently in Parliament, who have run town councils before. They have come. You are one of my advisors, and I'm so proud to say that you come and give me some advice and put me on the right track sometimes. And so I have good friends now, and they've run town councils before. So I will take their advice and take them on board as actually people who can help me run town.
So have you actually met any of the, let's say, community center people who are actually doing on the ground work?
I have actually.
You have met them?
I have people who have retired from such services as well.
Yeah.
I'm a big proponent of giving jobs to seniors because I think there's a big area. People say, not lack of enough talent and employable people in the work sector. They're missing a big chunk of this talent that is out there that they are not redeploying. So I'm a big proponent of that. So I will honestly open up the doors for young students to come in and learn how to run town councils and bring in seniors to come and work. People with experience. And I've got messages from people, hey, I've done this town council before. Let me know what I can do to help you. I've got a lot of people who came forward and say, my help is on the table. Let me know what you need. So yeah, I do have.
Okay, so I think at this point we should discuss what are some of your ideas about society, about let's say you are elected to a particular constituency.
Right.
What are the kinds of issues that you want to champion?
Okay. Right. So one of the points that I wanted to always say is what is clearly lacking in the policies that has come
have a coffee, man.
Is the lack of EQ.
What's the
emotional quotient? There's no compassion in some of the policies that come out. I mean, it will look great on paper, it looks perfect, but if you bring that down and make it connect with the person who's sitting across the desk in the town council,
how are you going to teach him EQ?
And you mean the person sending out policies?
Yeah.
See, that's when we have a voice. We use the voice to make them understand if they do not change, they will not be in the seat anymore. This is a strong message you must send.
Oh, that's very threatening.
No. It's democracy. Democracy. We use people's voice. We do not create a ruckus. It's not a movement of violence or threat. No. They say they are open and transparent and they are open for dialogues and debate. We follow that path. Yeah. That's it.
And then I think the situation has also changed. Because now with social media.
Exactly.
Right. In the old days, there was no social media.
You stand in one corner holding a mirror, you get arrested. But now look at me. I'm a perfect example. Yeah. I was a complete unknown until 2022, November, 22nd of November 2022.
Yeah.
Because of my first post, I posted up about what Ms. Indrani Raja said about the cause of what was the cause of HDB, and she turned around and said, it's not important for you to know that kind of work. That was the exact trigger point.
So you talk about, because my question was about what kind of policies are you
so
you talk about jobs for the older people.
Yes.
Right? You talk about kids.
Yes.
Right? What else? You talk about HDB prices, right?
Yes. Cost of living.
You talk about bureaucratic lack of EQ.
Too much red tape in their...
Right?
Yes. Yeah.
All right. What else?
Okay, so my main... See, right now, I actually thought I had set out a manifesto. So that's why I'm doing this.
Oh, you have a manifesto?
Right now I have, but it's kind of evolving because, like I said, I'm new into this forest, a thick jungle of politics with all the different politicians. I'm not a politician. I've always said that. I'm a guy who's just coming in, I think, with common sense. That's it. If something applies, it should work, right? And if you are going to, come out with a policy, it should meet different people. You see, the thought of the person making the policy thinks, I write this down, I put it out there, it's going to work. It's not. You are so detached. Different people have different needs. Yeah. It's not one size fits all. So you must have discretion in the way you roll out the policy and give power to those who are sitting across the desk to make certain decisions. I'll give you a simple example, okay? It just happened today. I was married in 2020, okay? And so what happened was, my name was still in the name given by my parents. Jay Ishhaq Rajoo. Rajoo is my father's name. So I always, after I converted in 2014, I wanted to switch my name to a Muslim name. I always felt it. I didn't have to, but I just feel in my heart I wanted to do it. So I changed my name just 2 years ago to Ishhaq Rajoo. I kept my father's name, and Jay, the name my parents.
Oh, the Ishhaq is the
adopted name.
It's a
Muslim, Islamic name. So the truth. So. And so when I changed the name, I had officially changed it. I did a DID-poll, I changed in my IC, my passport, all my documents, mails coming in with that name. So my wife said, would you want to go and register? Because she wants to also register us as a married couple in the Indonesian embassy. Because it makes our travel back and forth to Indonesia easier. Because sometimes some of the...
She's Indonesian?
My wife is Indonesian.
Oh, okay.
And so, so whenever we travel, they keep asking, "Are you sure?" I mean, what? Because there's nothing to prove, right? And so we always have to bring our marriage cert, and photographs. So if it's registered, then we can just pull out the system and say, "Hey, listen, it's registered." So, but then I was thinking the name in my IC is now different from the marriage cert, and I need to register, right? I called up Registry of Marriage today, and the lady was very polite, very nice, calmly told me, "No, sir, we cannot change your name in the marriage cert." So I said, "Why not?" "Because it's an official document." I said, "Okay, so is our IC, our passports, our SIM pass. Isn't that all official?" She said, "Yes, but you can't." I said, "Why?" She said, "Oh, because this is our protocol and this is what we cannot do." So I was thinking, how silly is this? I said, "But do you understand it causes a problem when I want to go and use my marriage document, because then I got to bring in a lot of other documents. We changed the name. I showed you proof to one.
But you have changed it on your IC,
Yeah, all done.
passport,
So everything. So when
except marriage certificate.
except marriage certificate, because that's the last thing you think of, right? And so they say you can't do it. So I say, why? They say, if you want, you can write in to us. I say, I'm sure you had this request before. Oh yes, many times. I say, you still not going to change it? Oh, because it's an official document. You see, they are so robotic in the way they regurgitate what they've been told, and they have no discretionary
Actually,
power.
this is something I also don't know.
Yeah, I didn't know.
No. The marriage bureau comes under which ministry?
Home Affairs. Is it Home Affairs?
I don't know.
I don't know. Home Affairs?
You better find out.
Yeah. Is it Home Affairs?
Yeah, I have no idea.
Is it?
Huh? Home Affairs,
right? Yeah, that's what I thought. So, so
if we are under Shanmugam now.
Yeah, my best friend. Yeah, who's my own MP. I mean, I'm in this. You see, so you asked me what I would change. So I will look at a social, political view. I will look round up and see what are the areas that's lacking. Maybe say I've got so much of money, I cannot use it for my root canal, but so the extraction, I have to do extraction because it costs like expensive to do root canal, right? And so I don't do root canal. And then they say, but after the root canal, if you want implant, you can actually take 1,250 from your medicine. I said, you don't give me money to buy the elephant, but you say I will give you a rope once you buy the elephant to tie the elephant down, which I thought was ridiculous. So why was there no policy in place? So I had people messaging me, say, I lost a bro, I had to extract 7 tooth because I couldn't pay for my root canal.
Okay, so this will be another of your policy issues, right?
Yes.
On
Medisave.
No, not just that. On
all issues.
Bureaucratic procedures, right? Which ordinary people have to face, right? Okay, so this is it. I think we're coming to the end of our interview.
So I can't look at major big reforms because I'm not a party. I only have so much of resources.
Yeah, but these are the issues that ordinary people
they connect to, right?
They have to deal with it.
Yes, day to day.
And you are the right person to deal
because I've gone through this. So I even show them I've got a teeth that's missing because I had to extract my teeth. I couldn't pay for my root canal. I am proof. I'm not faking it. I go through the same thing and I know what I'm talking about. You know, so that's why I did oppose and question Mr. Ong Ye Kang. Is this the kind of lapses in your policy that you're allowed to carry on? You know, that people are still suffering and nothing has been done about it. You see? Yeah.
They have a whole bureaucracy which they have to deal with also
all the time, right?
So it's in a sense Singapore is suffering from its success.
Very true. Very true.
And you are intending to disturb that, right?
I'm intending to improve it. Only when you stir your coffee, you get your sugar and your milk come up. That's what I'm. You know, because if you want just coffee, which I cannot take, I need to have a bit of milk, and you need a person who can just stir it up so you get the right ingredients coming out.
Okay. So now we've come to the end of our discussion.
Thank you.
What are the last words that you would want to pass on to our fellow Singaporeans?
All I want to say is stop being scared of an unknown future. We have candidates of alternate parties who are very capable. Singapore has produced good sons and daughters. We don't have to worry because at the end of the day, the framework and the structure that is in place will make sure the civil service will still run well. Give your voice to those who are trying to improve Singapore. Because the future, my campaign slogan is the future is in your hands. You are speaking up for your future and your children's future. If you kick the can down the road, my sons and your sons and daughters will have to sit down in some coffee shop somewhere and talk about issues, and we shouldn't let that happen. We should give them a fair fight to have a good future.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Very good.
I think that probably some questions
there's a lot, so I don't know. Yeah, because it's too far, right?
I still cannot accept what happened to my CPF withdrawal request because my health.
So, I don't know. Do you guys want to take the questions?
No, okay.
So I would like to I like to share also what you think about it. So I've
can you summarize that question?
So what happens in a law situation? Like I just spoke about it, they have CPF and Medisave, and they are of a ripe age already when they say you can draw your money at 55, right? So some of them have got real concerns with health issues, but they can't draw out the full extent of the money to go for their treatment. The Medisave is there. So a lot of people can't understand why. Why don't you let me take out my money and let me take my treatment and make me pay the bills off? You know? So that's why we talked about, right? The framework that has been built. They think that everybody is fine with whatever they're getting, not listening to the voices on the ground, because not everybody has got savings, you know. There are some people who have really fallen through the crack and they try to climb up. And all you have to do is have some discretion to the policies that you put out, right? And so you will help those people. Just by helping that one person, you cannot say, oh, everybody was not. No. As long as there's a justification, it's a health issue. Come on. You know, you can say...
And health is an individual issue.
Yes. Yeah. It is not a common issue. Just because one person has got a root canal issue, the whole society is not going to have. But the moment you know there are people who are having this issue, put out a policy that will reach out to this. Yeah. And who does that? The person sitting in the town council. When a person reaches out, the CPF board should call the town council and say, you have a citizen in your constituency, send somebody, sit down, have an interview, go through all the paperwork and help them as much as possible. Maybe it's not taking the money and giving it to you right away, but in the form of a subsidy that can be arranged with the hospital, you know, because the guy has no money in the CPF. You know, if he get, you know, something goes wrong, you can always retrieve that money. So, what's the problem? Why don't you want to do that? You know, so I get this kind of questions every day, and this is one of the reasons why it kind of propelled me. And I keep thinking, so I felt what I was going through is nothing compared to some of the people that were living day-to-day lives with these challenges, you know.
So what has been how many people, what has been the reaction to all your Facebook?
Oh, it's I mean, you will get the keyboard warriors,
in terms of,
but then you get, people can connect with you. So now people say, so now you've connected, so can you help us now?
No, I mean the numbers. Are they hundreds or thousands or what?
So I will get like between 5 to 20 people messaging me every day on different platforms and saying, hey, I have this issue. Can you help me? Can we meet? So I really don't have the time because I go to work. I go to babysit my son while my wife's cooking because we're running a catering business now. Really don't have the time. But so what I say is, let's do a Zoom. So I will say, this is my standard now. Send me a voicemail, be brief, and tell me exactly what you're going through. If I can help you, I will. If not, I connect you to people who can help you. If you need, some people come to me for legal advice. I'm not a lawyer, so I push them to, people who can help them actually. So this is what I'm trying to do. And there was the two cases kind of stand out for me was a person who had a very big construction company, and they went bust during COVID times. And so she showed me her CPF savings was quite a huge amount. I mean, I never know you can have so much money in the CPF, and the MediSave as well. So, and she's got a child studying overseas for medicine. And the person has got the last 6 months complete, and they have to make payment. They have no money. So when they appeal, according to them, I don't know whether it's true because I've not seen the paperwork. According to them, they can't draw from their CPF, to make payment. Maybe now the policies have been changed. This was 2 years back. Yeah. Another issue was a person. I get a lot of people messaging me who's going through cancer treatment, surprisingly. So I'm just starting to look at it because I cannot throw out accusation and say, there's no proper subsidies and all. I went through root canal. I can speak about it because that's my personal issue. And funnily, when I spoke about root canal, 2 weeks later, CNA put out an article about the fact that there were actually grants available for people who wanted root canal. But then I asked, if this is not available information to the public, how are they going to get this money? Yeah. So same with this lady. She's made all the payment. She's left with a few $1,000s. And she's struggling because she cannot go to work because she went for chemo. She lost her job. Her husband is a Malaysian, because he's a PR now. He's just doing a menial job. She was working as an executive.
But she has a huge CPF account.
She has a big account.
But cannot draw.
And so she went to see the MP. So I asked her, give me the paperwork to see if it's true. But I get this all the time. The cancer patients and other patients who need, you see, they only think about the medical amount that you have to spend. They're not thinking about other expenses they will have, How do they pay their bills when they cannot work because they go through chemo? How do they take care of their children, their young children? What if you're a person who's older, your children are old, and you want to save money for their weddings or something like that? So this, even retrenched workers, the mental anguish of a person who's retrenched, nobody's talking about. You just say, I'll throw $1,000 and $3,000. But what about the mental state of mind? They need life coaches and counselors to go in and talk to them. I can talk until tomorrow morning.
I'm curious about your wife business, the home-based business and food-based, right?
Yeah.
What kind of paperwork or certification?
Yeah, so we need hygiene certification. That's mandatory. So I was sent for a course because I used to work for an F&B company part-time, so they sent me. And so I had to send her the moment we decided she's going to do cooking. I said, go for the course, get the certificate, and so everything is legal. So for home-based cooking, you don't have to register a company. But if you want to expand it, because that's what's on the pipeline right now, then we will start registering the company, have a proper bank account, because now it's just people order, she cooks, and then I'll send it.
In order to become a private company?
So I don't know in terms of size, but in terms of the moment if I decide, because right now a food court has offered us to sell our food there. I have another experts in F&B who are major investors. They came to our house to one of my friends kind of twisted their arm and forced them, because they'll go to restaurants and all. They came to our house and they tasted the food, and it was a big compliment. He said, this is better than any top restaurants I've had in Indonesia, because my wife does typical village Indonesian food. So you can't get that taste in restaurants here because it's very commercialized, right? So that's why a lot of helpers order the food. And even Indonesians staying in Singapore have ordered, and the locals, because we put it out on social media. So right now, we have a good problem. Too much order. We operate from home, and she's the only one cooking, and I'm taking care of my baby. So when my helper has gone back home, so when she's around, she takes care of my child. So I will have to cut the chicken, the meat, and the vegetables. My wife does the cooking. So it's a bit more easier for her. But now she's completely doing it alone. So we got to cancel order all the time. So it's a good problem to have. So we will register once we decide to, push out, expand. Yeah.
There isn't any question.
There's lots of questions on Facebook page.
Oh, your eyesight is fantastic.
Kind of, but it's usually common questions. You see a lot of arts coming out, so they agree with what we are saying. So like I said, mostly it's the same common issues. It's the medical. They talk about medicine. You can't utilize it fully. CPF, they want to withdraw. And cost of living, education system. And
well, the CPF thing, the government has said before, they don't like people to withdraw because they cannot, people might squander the money, and get into trouble, right? And use the money unwisely, right? So this is one issue.
Yeah.
Right. And the second issue is the medical issues,
Yes.
right? That they have to have a general approach. They cannot deal with every specific individual case, right? Because to do that means the person in charge has to make a judgment.
Yeah.
And when you allow administrators to make judgments, they could be tempted.
Yeah.
Right?
I agree.
And therefore, to prevent corruption, right, you don't allow anybody to make judgment. You just follow the rules. That's it.
But then
That is how Singapore has
I
developed.
feel we have gone past that area where we have to look at it with a huge lens and say we can specialize this. That's why I said if you have a person in a constituency who's got issues, you send a team to their house. This can be done once a month or once in every quarterly, and say we'll send a team to your house to do an interview.
Yeah.
So you have a committee to look at it, not one person, and then this committee makes a recommendation, and you get people higher up signing it.
Yeah, but you have to trust the committee, you see.
But that's
That's
how
the
it
point,
works.
you see.
Same, we have to trust our prime president and our prime minister, right?
The system cannot be based on trust, you see.
Yeah.
That's the problem, you see.
No, but we trust our government to keep it a fair and free elections.
Yeah,
So the framework
and
is
the
there.
argument therefore is that's why we have to pay them a lot of money.
And
so
that's why we
that they
pay.
won't get tempted, you see.
So, but that's why we pay the councillors, is it, in the town council? Yeah, lots of money.
Yeah.
So what are they there for?
Yeah.
To make sure that Puli picks up the rubbish and put it inside the rubbish bin?
Yeah, lah.
No one. I know. No disrespect, but stop giving us ice creams and clearing our rubbish. You're not paid for that.
Yeah.
You're paid for a higher cost.
Being a tour guide is very great.
I got nothing personally against anyone.
Yeah.
If Shanmugam were to come to my house, I will invite him and personally make a cup of coffee for him. And my coffee is not bad.
Okay.
So, and I would like to just engage him in a conversation, because we have to start speaking. We have to stop thinking that just because somebody says something bad about you, it's bad. No. This is how we have open democracy. I can be upset with him, but at the end of the day, when we finish work, we can go down, sit down and have a cup of coffee. And this is the philosophy that I've always practiced, even at my work. And that's why I get along with my working colleagues and all that.
Yeah.
We need to have that idea. Don't throw up POFMAs and defamation suit. Call me in for a meeting before you give me a POFMA, so I can explain myself. So a lot of things need changes.
Did they give you a hard time in the office?
No, they're very nice. No, even when you didn't talk about the criminal defamation. So they were very nice. I was there for 5 hours. They made sure, the aircon was okay, or when offered me coffee or drinks and all that.
They're very nice.
Yeah. In that respect, it has changed.
Yeah.
Now they deal with you with gloves, In the,
Yeah.
in the past, it was like that.
No, the past is, I think, very different, but now, Operation Spectrum. Oh, really?
Yeah, Operation Spectrum.
Which year was this?
82.
No, coming back to the EM,
Right.
which two?
Yeah.
In fact, the government has already a mechanism.
Okay.
When you buy they lend you money.
Yeah.
Because the CPF lend you money from some of the CPF lend money and from the members and you can borrow to buy something to the system there. And
Medical.
especially when there's a need. There's a need, you can lend your money. So the same application can be done with the health assessment, right?
So that's why there's a lot of things that we need to look at. And you know, you are not wrong. I mean, this is the general opinion that people will take their money, they squander their money, they will go to Batam, find a bunch of seniors like us, you know, sitting in the Batam ferry terminal on Saturday morning and come back without, you know, on Sunday night and squander our money. But then look at the other possibilities of how some people can invest prudently and make better money to work better for them. Or even people like me who want to do a startup, I don't have to beg and borrow, look for investors. I have enough money to come and set up a small shop under a coffee shop and run a decent business. It will give me dignity for myself and my family. I don't have to.
Now the coffee shop here, the rent per stall is 10,000.
I stand corrected.
No,
No, but there's some places are very expensive, right?
Yeah.
And there's one in East Coast, my wife read, hawker center, $10,000.
Yeah.
Mad for one. This is just simple madness, you know. So,
also the issue is that in this issue of they came out during the COVID issue where you have a lot of people recording anymore.
okay.
And this is the big issue. Right? So Korea are working
Yeah.
there and they will get
Correct.
there was a pressure to pass them on the here we have some money. And here I don't have to make up. You borrow from whatever they share
So, but then they deem it as an emergency. It's a special situation. So they reach into the pockets of our pot of gold to support the citizens to stay on track. So that's what they're saying. So there was a special situation.
Whatever I always question that some come in the play or they getting from out here. Makes so much money in the past.
Yeah.
And now I really Japanese. Why not? I want to take that money that I think
So,
I think that yes, it is my money.
So this is a double-edged sword, right? So what they're saying is, if we keep giving money out every time it says that I need money, or if you look at the other point of what they're saying, then your reserves are going to go down, and when we have a real emergency, we have another one kind of looking through the window now, which is MPOP. And so we need the money to save you, so that's why we keep it for you.
It's a double.
Yeah, double-edged sword. Yeah.
Always that
So a proposal that some of the public have proposed to me was, okay, don't give it to us in a lump sum. For those who want it, you can give it to us monthly at a certain rate, or if you have a proposal for investment, you will have a look at it, and if you think that's a prudent investment, you let us have the money. If you want to have a startup, you set up an area where you say, because now I'm speaking to some people to see if I can get a grant for a small business. And so have a committee. I have the same interview. What is my startup all about? And because I have enough business to show them the phone calls and the WhatsApp asking me for business, I can show them and say, this is how much I can make if I could have a shop. So if it's justifiable, by all means, give out the money. Not the whole amount, a partial amount. And same goes for people who are sick, a partial amount. So don't have to give the whole lump sum. Keep something for themselves. So if my investment can bring in more money than what you're giving me monthly, why can't I have the ability to earn? You are earning extra from my CPF anyway. Why can't I be the person earning the money?
My side of it, that argument is big earlier like it's new. One side of it is think about their argument of depleting the reserve. But the other side of the argument is that where is the compassion?
Yeah. That's why I say,
When the need is arises before there is the need to help.
I feel we are.
Someone every day is proud to deplete the.
Yeah. We are not robbing the reserves. No. There must be enough discretionary power. We are a small country with not a very big population, and should be able to be handled. We got 90 plus ministers for.
You see, compassion can only be exercised by a minister. It cannot be exercised by a bureaucrat.
Yeah.
See? So
I agree with that.
the ministers, that's why we pay them so much.
Yes, I agree.
Right? Which means that they should be exercising that right, but they're not. And the reason why they say they cannot do it is because there will be 10,000 requests and they can't deal with it. So how do you answer that?
No, see, the thing is, you have enough complaints or requests, whatever you want to call it. You do a study on what are the main issues people are facing. You must set up a framework that says, okay, this is A, B, and C. But then you are going to have A1, A2, A3 problems in the medical sector, in retrenchment areas. So how are we going to meet those needs with a more detailed framework? And you need to train the staff. They don't have to show compassion, but must be able to
this is interesting now because you have the bureaucracy that does the regular everyday things. Okay?
Yes.
Then you have the minister who has to make judgments, right?
Yes.
So what you are suggesting is that the minister then must have his own committee, which he pays for.
Yeah, okay.
And he controls.
Yeah.
And these are the people that will help him to deal with the 10,000 questions.
You have to
because you cannot get the bureaucracy to deal with the 10,000 questions.
You can't. You see, the thing is, the floodgates will open. I'm not going to say we are all so well behaved and say, I don't want the money given to the guy who needs it. No. Men
but
have psychology.
That committee had to decide.
But then there are some basic framework that can be made, but it's not made available because they say one size fits all. We have to make timely changes. I mean, there must be changes. You cannot keep saying, this is how it is. If we give people power, there will be a question of whether they will be loyal to us or will they be influenced, right? Are they backing up? I think they're backing up, Okay, I think we got to catch. I think more than enough. Very good. Yeah, very good. Yeah.
Thanks for this because
let me tell them again that sorry about the stop sound. Sorry about the sound. I will repost it because I've got another professional system here. Thank you for joining me. I'll go through the questions later. All right. Take care.